I can't please everybody. Have you ever been guilty of saying that? I know I have. I spent the majority of my life trying to bend over backwards and please everybody. And guess what? I guess I'm a slow learner, but it took me years to figure out this one thing. It ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna please everybody. And here's the thing, we wear ourselves out trying. We bend over backwards, we go out of our way, we try to get everybody's approval. We literally wear ourselves out trying to please everybody. So is it possible? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Real Bible Talk. I'm Shad. Did you know that nowhere in the Bible God ever said that we're to be people pleasers? I'm going to say that again. Nowhere in the Bible did God ever say we had to be people pleasers. Why is it that most people got this belief that Christians are just supposed to be weak people that keep their mouth shut, their opinions to themselves, don't stir anything up, and God forbid we tell the truth? I mean, that's offensive, right? The truth hurts. But you know what? I did. For a lot of my life, I've been over backwards trying to please everybody. And you know what? I literally give myself and wore myself out trying. But not many years ago, about 10, I had this aha moment. I realized one day, you know what? This trying to please everybody is absolutely getting me nowhere. It's doing nothing but hurting myself, because it's kind of like opinions. Have you ever went out and asked somebody what they thought about something? I know that's a loaded question. They tell you their opinion, and you go to somebody else and you ask them, hey, what do you think about this? But they tell you something right the opposite. Before you know it, you've done went around and you've asked 15 different people what they thought and what their opinion was on something. And guess what? All 15 of them had something different to say. How'd you walk away feeling? Confused, and you still didn't know what to do. Well, that's kind of the same way with pleasing everybody. You bend over backwards to please them, and guess what? Very rarely are they going to ever be happy. You go to try to please 15 different people, you're going to have 15 different people pulling you 15 different directions. And guess what? That's bad for your health, and I think God understood this. But what's interesting in the Bible, in Galatians 1:10, the Apostle Paul himself made this statement. Obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but God. If pleasing people were my goal, I would not be Christ's servant. Did you hear that? He realized the fact for him to serve the Lord, to be a servant of Jesus Christ, there was no way possible he was going to please people. As a matter of fact, by what he just said right here, he said, I'm not even trying to please people. I'm trying to please God. And you know what? For you and I, that is the only one person that we should be even concerned about pleasing, and that's pleasing God. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 9 through 10, Paul also says this, so whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to please him, talking about God. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. Did you hear that? We're all going to stand before God. And here's the thing. If you're trying to please everybody out there, you're bending over backwards, wearing yourself out, your attention and focus has now become more on everybody else and less on God. And when we're trying to wear ourselves out pleasing everybody, what do? We probably end up neglecting God, right? That's what happened with me. It's not going to happen. You're not going to please everybody. That's what I'm saying. And God never intended for us to please everybody. In Romans 12:18, it does say this. If it is possible, as much as it depends on you, live peaceably with all men. Did you hear that? if it is possible, as much as it depends on you. Just because God did not aim for us to be people pleasers, we're to be God pleasers, He did tell us to try to live peaceable with all people, as much as it depends upon us. You're not going to please everybody, but as a Christian, we are to try to live a peaceful life and be at peace with people. But we're in a day and a time now, if you're not pleasing them people, they don't have a lot of peace with you. They're all mad, hurt feelings, talking about you behind your back. I mean, you know what? Who's it really hurting in the end? It's hurting you. As Christians, we don't have to be weak. And that's a misconception with a lot of people out there. Well, those Christians, they're just weak people. You know what? Jesus got mad. He didn't sin when he was mad, but he got mad and he turned over the tables in the temple of the money exchangers because they were defiling the Father's house. That was a righteous anger. And it's kind of funny when you go out there and you're trying to walk the Christian walk, it seems like everybody wants to try to push your buttons to see if they can make you jump off the ledge there. And you know, it's like everybody's watching. Oh, let's wait and see if they mess up. But here's the thing. You're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to please everybody. It don't matter how hard you try. You know, and what the sad thing is, most of us spend most of our life trying to do that. We're trying to get the approval of men rather than the approval of God. We try to obey men and not obey God. We try to please men, but we're not too worried about pleasing God because we're too worried about pleasing men. And the Bible tells us clearly, Paul understood it. He said point blank, obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people. You know, if we're living a Christian life and we're living according to God's word, we should be living in our life in a way to where really people can't really say a whole lot bad about us. But guess what? They're going to anyway, good or bad. If they don't have something bad to say, guess what? They'll make something up, right? But if it's all possible with us, live peaceably with all men. And we taking Jesus as an example. Jesus didn't go around trying to please everybody. Matter of fact, one, he didn't avoid confrontation. The Pharisees and the Sadducees were constantly coming against him, but guess what? He spoke the truth in love, and the truth hurt, and he offended people by speaking the truth. He didn't try to make sure others thought well of him. You know, he knew who he was in God, so he didn't go around trying to worry about whatever other people thought. He didn't automatically defer to authority figures. I mean, he was Jesus. He was God's son, but he was here on a mission. You're here on a mission, but you'll never get a hold of that mission as long as you're trying to please everybody else. He didn't change his message to suit the people. You know, a lot of times because we try to please people, we try to tell people what they want to hear. And, you know, it's kind of like I can't even be myself around those that I'm trying to please because to please them, I had to be something opposite. That ain't the way God created you. He created you to be you and only you. And Jesus wasn't afraid to rebuke people in public. You know, if they said something that wasn't right according to God's word, he'd correct them right there on the spot. He didn't worry about what they thought about him. He spoke what needed to be said, even if it led to his death, and we see that. Jesus was put on the spot. He spoke the truth. He spoke the truth in love, but yet he sternly spoke the truth. And they took him to the cross for it. He chose faith and submission over trying to control situations. You know, he was always obedient to God, regardless of the cost. And you know, we as Christians should be the same way. To be a Christian means to be Christ-like. We're to be like Jesus. That's what to be a Christian means. So I don't think we as Christians have to be people pleasers. We're to be God pleasers. We're to live according to God's word, not what people think. And yeah, that can be hard at times. And it can cause division between you and your own blood. But yet, When you pray and seek God out, and He shows you things on what you're supposed to be doing or where you're supposed to be going, you know what? Quit worrying about what everybody else thinks. The only one that matters is God, because what we just read a while ago, we're all going to stand before God on the day of judgment. And we're going to give an account for everything that we've done or said, good or bad. So give yourself a break. Quit trying to please everybody. Put your eyes on God, get in God's Word, and become a God pleaser and get rid of this people pleasing thing. Hey, I hope this has encouraged you. God bless you, love you, and I will see you here next time.